Hey, oh my goodness, what a freaking start here. My goodness. This is Dominic DeAngelo, WrestleZone.com. And man, we gotta welcome back the babyface killer himself. Not a babyface, fucking asshole, actually.
I have a baby
Number one
face now.
asshole, Marcus DeAngelo is back after Marcus. It's been over a month. I checked. A month since you've been on the show. What the fuck?
Dom, I'm in the biz. not really. I'm in the podcasting biz. But just busy, dude.
What is this?
Busy as hell. This is the one that doesn't fucking pay me. Nesha, what's up? Thank you. I appreciate the commentary on my clean shavenness. Dominic called me a baby face, but not in this way. He wasn't referring to how baby faced I look right now. My wife says I look like I should be in high school.
No, that was Marcus. That was spot on how I referred to you. I called you a baby face because of your face. You're a fucking asshole because you haven't been here.
Hey man, such is the life of the podcast world. And Dominic, you're dipping the toe a little bit. So I think you understand.
I know. I get it to an extent. I get it. I do understand.
Yeah, Dominic is helping out a little bit with Podcast Heat. So he's keeping busy over there. I'm working for ad-free shows. So busy time. Steven Chambers, what's up, brother? It's good to be back. It is good to be back. I missed you guys. You know, we built a little community here. This is like I'm like a shitty friend, right? You know, I just like I don't call all the time, but when I do call, it's always fun.
We try to make the most of it here.
That's right. I'll take you out for a night of drinking, and then I just don't talk to you for like 3 months.
Don't respond to text. Don't do anything.
But guess what? I'll be back in another 3 months, and we're gonna go out for a night of drinking. It's gonna be wonderful.
Well,
no,
yes.
That was just my comparison on shitty friends.
I got you. What's on your mug, by the way? Is that
from Friends? No, Friends.
Oh, Marcus, you don't have any. That's funny. You have that mug.
Hey, Nesha would disagree. I think Steven Chambers would disagree. So all of our regulars, Dom.
All right. Well, no, I disagree. But Marcus,
Dom, Nesha's ready to tag in. She keeps calling for me to be fired. I think she's ended the job. Dom, just tag her in. Give her my job.
She was gunning for it last week. I tell you that much. I was flying solo, and that's how it goes. You know, you might get Wally pipped.
It is what it is. Jason Michael Campbell, he says, "What's up, guys? Been a while. I've been stuck at home and talk today. I was finally able to get back out to the gym after taking some time away due to quarantine. Glad you're okay, man. Glad you had COVID, but seems like you're doing all right. And let me tell you, man, it is rough once you get away from the gym to get back at it. I was just telling my wife yesterday. I have a heavy bag that I bought literally a year ago, and I haven't hung it yet. So as soon as I feel better, I'm working on a little sinus infection here. As soon as I feel better, I am hanging that piece of shit up, and I'm going to carve out like 30 minutes a day.
If you had to put a wrestler on your heavy bag to hit, what wrestler would you choose?
One wrestler is like face on my heavy bag. Oh gosh, that's a hard question because it's like I don't really dislike anybody in the business. You know, it's like if I dislike them, it's just because they're doing a good job of being a heel.
Well, it could be that route then.
So I guess what it should be, Dom, is like who would make me feel tough if I was like punching him without getting punched back. I'm going with Batista.
He's the animal.
He's a bad motherfucker. So if I can hit him and not get hit back, it's a little like ego boost.
Yes, I like it.
What about you, Dom? That's what I would do before I punched him. I would have one hand ungloved so I could do this.
Glove.
Yes.
Watch the heavy bag somehow knock you out. I would, to stay current, I think I'd go MJF, right? Makes sense.
Oh, yeah. It's the best heel in the biz, dude. Best heel in the biz.
He is the best heel.
I'll tell you what. He leveled up last time there against CM Punk.
Yes,
beat him twice. Twice in one night, Dom.
Let's actually just talk about that a little bit. That's how we'll start off. You have a lot to catch up on.
Yeah.
So
let's get weird on my floor over there. Give me a sec.
What's happened? Something's on his floor? I don't know what's going on. But yes, I think MJF really cultivated and continued some good heel work this week as he just did not basically give any credit to Wardlow. Marcus, what happened there? What was that?
Boy, there was something. There was something on my floor. I was like, "What is that? Like a fucking dead mouse?" I went over and it was dryer lint that my cat drug out. I strongly consider just not coming back.
Could you imagine it? Hey, I'm out for cigarettes. I'll be right back.
Yeah, be right back. Be right back, guys. See you in another 3 weeks there.
see you soon. No, Mark, let's get your thoughts on specifically. Let's just go with that match, CM Punk versus MJF. Didn't get your take last week, obviously. Let's get it now.
Yeah, it was the right answer. You know, it's CM Punk. He's like Barry Windham back in the day, where like Barry was just like, he was such a talented performer. Didn't really need the accolades of winning. Didn't really need to have a belt. Like, he was just so good at what he did. He was just over. Everybody knew that he was awesome, so he was over. I look like Veer.
No, Veer is the guy that they keep teasing that be coming to WWE and he never shows up.
Oh, I thought she said I look like Veer. I was like, I don't see it, but okay. Yeah, it's Send Marcus.
Send Marcus.
But,
yeah, he'll never come. Never show up.
Low hanging fruit. I'm gonna skim right over it, Dom. But in any case, yeah, it's they did kind of. CM Punk didn't need to win. He didn't need to win, but I'll tell you what, MJF very much benefited from the win.
Yes, and you know what? That's CM Punk's first loss in what, like 7 years? Well, how long has it been since 2014 now? No,
Yeah.
8 years.
8 years. 8 years, Dom.
Crazy. So yeah, no, I thought that match I talked about last week. It was good. Yeah, I really just liked the pacing. It's such a different vibe when you have a CM Punk or MJF match going on, and those two together is the good stuff. So let the Mensa meeting commence. Mensa, what is Mensa, Marcus? Why did I just hear that?
I don't know. I keep hearing it too, and I don't remember. This dude is burning us probably, and we don't even know it.
I don't know. Hey Barry, thanks for the Mensa meeting.
Hey, yeah, Barry, if that's a compliment, thanks. If it's not, go fuck yourself.
Either way, welcome to the show. Marcus, way to cultivate a viewing audience.
No, I was gonna say, we've said this on the show before. If you guys come on here to trash us, it's fine. I just have a good time doing it.
Steven says, thought for a second Wardlow would be Punk's partner for a perfect face turn, but it looks like Wardlow face turn at Revolution. Yeah, it really teased that. Let's get into that, Mark. I wasn't going to start with that, but I think it is an appropriate thing to just do.
I thought it was happening during that match. I was like, all right, this is it. Dominic wants Wardlow to be a baby.
Oh yeah,
face.
You mean Punk versus MJF?
Yeah, when he came out.
Oh, I thought that was going to happen too. Then
that was my thought. I was like,
do you think they should have pulled the trigger then? Or do you ultimately think, hey, this is still going to be good? Like, it's the payoff's coming, and it's going to be even better than what maybe could have happened there.
That's a hard question because, CM Punk needed an out, right? He needed some cheating and whatnot to take the L. But here's the thing: is like MJF already cheated once and got the win that way. I think it would have been a little bit better if maybe Wardlow is just no. If you're going to turn Wardlow babyface, he shouldn't have come out at all. It should just happen in another segment. It doesn't belong in that segment.
That's a good point. No, that's a good point.
Right.
I think, I think it kind of adds to breaks up the predictability of what we've grown to learn, like been accustomed to with pro wrestling. Like, hey, this is the formula that goes. Okay, MJF cheated the first time, so he's not going to win, or something's going to happen where Punk beats him somehow, or something goes down. No, that's MJF still won.
I kind of wish that they would have just ended whenever he choked him out with like the rope or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then, CM Punk calls the bullshit card, and the audience gets behind him, and then we go to another match, and then it happens again in another way, and then they have a third match, and he beats him clean.
At the same night, or do you mean like different?
No, different nights.
Different nights. Okay.
Yeah. So like the third match, everybody would be like, oh, well, MJF has won twice and he's cheated both times. Well, then you swerve everybody by having him go over clean against Punk the third time for the blow off.
That's interesting. What do you think is going to happen with the blow off when this comes?
It's going to be the same thing that happened with Jericho, where Jericho gives him some wins and then gets his win back.
But to your point, I really think Punk could lose and be okay. Like, he's like Teflon. Like,
I agree, but it's wrestling, dude. Like that's what they do. The babyface has got to end strong. It's a babyface territory, as Bruce likes to say about WWE back in the day. And I think that that's just how they're gonna do it. The babyface has got to end strong.
Yeah, I guess. I think so. I mean, I don't know. It's like, yeah, you can further. Yeah, you know what? And at MJF, he's just working the top programs. He's being a heel. Heels lose. Heels should ultimately lose. So yeah, that plays into that.
I think that MJF is going to be the new champion of AEW
Oh,
for a
sure.
couple of reasons. For one thing, Hangman Page is a heel and he needs, or is a babyface and he needs a heel to work against. So ultimately, who better to beat him than the best heel in wrestling? And also his contract, I believe, is coming up soon-ish, MJF. And so I think that you could really entice him to stay and just justify him by putting the belt on him and saying like, hey, let's see how he does as champion. If he makes us some money, then we give him more money.
That's true. And the MJF is very much money. So I think incorporating him into all that is the way to go. For
I
sure.
think yeah, he's as good as it gets, man. He's good in the ring, great on the mic, good look. He checks every box. Plus, you don't want him to take a big money deal with WWE and then have WWE just bury him.
Dude, it's unbelievable. I was just thinking today, like Ricochet. Where the fuck is Ricochet? Is he even on right now? Can somebody tell me? Like
You know,
honestly, I could not tell you either way if he's on Raw, SmackDown, or if he's even on TV right now. I don't know.
you know what's really funny is that back in the day, it used to be like Vince would entice talent to not go to WCW because he'd say like, "Hey, they're not going to know what to do with you. They're going to ruin you. They're going to make you look like shit. Stay with me. I know how to promote you. I know how to make you a star." And he was right at the time, at least in most cases. Not in the case of Hall and Nash, but now it's the reverse, right? Where it's like, then now if you go to WWE, you're going to just get fucking buried and then released like a year later. And
Yeah,
it was like it honestly, if I was a talent and I was and I had the choice, AEW for a little bit less money, WWE more money, I'd be like, I might have to go to AEW just for like the sake of future Marcus.
right. Yeah, like because you almost got to think of it like when you're. It's I make a lot of football analogies, but this one I think kind of works. Okay, you can go to a team where yeah you're going to be the featured player, you're going to be the highest paid player, all that stuff, or you can make a decision maybe to take a little less money and you play with like say the Patriots or you play with an established team like the Packers or something like that, and then you're like, all right, I'm gonna work my way and I'm gonna go to win a Super Bowl, and then look, when I'm done and retired, I'm a Super Bowl champion. You know, whereas that I could have went for a whole bunch of money to fucking the Miami and nothing happens, or my New York Jets and nothing happens, and like so you become maybe a star player, but your name doesn't have any cachet anymore. Like your star
Here's
fades.
the only thing that would draw you, I think, right now as a talent to WWE is for one thing, probably it's way more money. I would assume.
Sure.
I don't know what the pay
I
scale
don't
is
know
like
either,
in
but
AEW, but I would guess that just because WWE is what they are, you probably make more money if you go there. But the other thing is like it's also kind of like hey, guess what? I realized my dream. When I was a kid, I loved
yeah,
WWF or WWE, and now look at me. I made it. I made it to the top. I watched it when I was a kid, and now I'm doing it. So I think that is a big draw as well for a lot
yeah,
of people.
absolutely. It's like it's got that feel like, hey, this is the goal. Like I want to play for the NFL.
Right.
I want to play. I want to be a NFL football player. And like, for better or for worse, WWE has been that flagship wrestling show for the better part of 20 years. So
When these guys were kids coming up, they weren't saying like, "Boy, I can't wait to go work for some wrestling company." They were saying, "No, I can't wait to go work for WWE. I'm gonna make it one day." So like, I get it, I do, but I do think that you have to think about your long-term future. And if you're getting buried in front of probably the biggest wrestling audience on the face of the planet right now, I don't know if that's good.
it's not good. It's not good. And it's like they aren't using it right. I mean, it's just crazy to think how much talent is still there and has been through there and weren't utilized. Like, and it's just like, man, like, cause you look back, I mean, I remember seeing Ricochet before, when he was, in Lucha Underground and all that stuff and being pumped. It's like this guy is gonna go fucking places, and you see him in NXT, and he's like looking like that too. But then it's just nothing.
Dom, a couple of things I wanted to touch on here from our listeners. Stephen Chambers said Adam Cole, new champ. I honestly, you could justify it. You really could, because Adam Cole is so fucking over. Every time he goes out there, I mean, you can't pay for a reaction like he gets like it's like parallel universes of reactions. You get the giant babyface reaction for Hangman Page, then you get a giant borderline babyface reaction from fans for Adam Cole. So, I mean, putting those two in a match against each other is really fun. What do you think? Could you justify putting the strap on Cole? Probably not this early.
No, not this early, I would say. But I think they have a very easy out in this regard. You look at the chess pieces that have been getting put into play here with him teaming up with Red Dragon again. So you have the Undisputed Era back together. Then you kind of see the little tension between the Young Bucks and all those guys. Then even add now, I mean, we haven't talked about him yet, and I want to talk about him here in a little bit, but Jay White is like kind of showing on his face around and stuff like that. And he helped the Young Bucks on Rampage.
Let's keep moving. What's next on the old agenda?
But to that point, Marcus, what I'm getting at is I think you can see the Young Bucks maybe fucking not Hangman, Adam Cole over somehow or something to that effect going where like there's a division between, the super clique and then now you have the new era, Undisputed Era kind of thing. And then you have a babyface Cole, to your point, getting those babyface reactions, embrace it, in that kind of regard. So something kind of
I think I like Cole better as a heel than a babyface. I know he's getting babyface-ish reactions, but that's just, I think a lot of that has to do with that he's got cool music and he's so recognized due to his time in NXT. But like, I like him as a heel. I especially like him as a heel. Here's how you get heat on Adam Cole: is keep having him fuck with Tony Schiavone.
Oh yeah,
because everybody loves Tony, and just make him that condescending, douchey, jealous boyfriend.
He's good at it.
Yes. It's honestly, it's the only way to get heat on him because he's over.
He is over. But can't go against the grain too much because if you do turn a babyface, you have a hot act already. So you make him a top babyface, where he's maybe seeing eye to eye in regards to with the champion of Hangman Page, and you guys got, pun not intended, to be on the same page with one another. Then you got some storylines cooking, some major storylines cooking. Nesha thinks Cole turns on the Bucks.
I wouldn't like it. I like
the Bucks as heels, right?
Yeah, I like all of them as heels, and I like them as like this annoying heel unit. Because like, let's face it, dude. I know that like it kind of goes against like Cornette sort of thinking when they do that whole like run the ropes and then like give him a kiss on each cheek. I know that Cornette hates it, but guess what? It kind of gets heat.
Yes.
So like, in this new era of wrestling, you don't have to like it, but like if you want to get heat, you've got to get pretty creative. And like every time I see it, I'm like, these fucking guys with this spot. And then I catch myself and I'm like, oh yeah, they're actually just doing what they're supposed to. I'm supposed to say, oh, these fucking
these guys with these fucking spots.
Right.
Yeah.
So it sort of works.
It sort of does work. Okay, yeah, let's talk about Jay White here a little bit. Shows up, throws Rocky Romero into the production truck just out of nowhere.
Which was a nice bump by Rocky Romero.
Rocky Romero's great. I like Rocky. He's like across the board. I like him. The name, the look, the way he wrestles. What a vet.
I think ahead of it, Rocky Romero was like, how do I make this look realistic? I'll just fucking actually do it.
You know what?
I'll just run my face into this fucking truck.
Take a header right into the truck. But so yeah, he shows up. Then he attacks Trent Beretta at the end of his match there on Rampage, and now we have Jay White actually wrestling on Rampage next week against Trent Beretta.
Nesh's saying that he was on Impact on Thursday.
Yes, he is. He was a big factor on Impact. Leading
that
the
Forbidden Door is just fucking flinging around.
And it's like it's rotating. You know what? On Impact too, he's more in a babyface role. Like he is like feuding with the Good Brothers and feuding with Eric Young's Violent by Design. So
this just gave me a fun idea. How
Yeah.
neat would it be to have somebody who's a babyface on one program and a heel on another, kind of like Bret Hart being a heel in America and a babyface in Canada?
that'd be kind of neat.
It would be hard to manifest that nowadays with smart fans, but still,
I'm trying
it's
to
cool.
think if they did that with somebody on Dynamite though, on AEW before. Like Kenny was there. No, I think everybody pretty much remained in their roles. Like Kenny was a heel on Impact, he's a heel on Dynamite. This is kind of different though. Like Jay White's like, he's like the cool leader, like because they got Tamatonga there and they have Tangaloa and Chris Bay and geez, who's the other guy that's there with them too? Jeez, I'm blanking. But anyways, Bull Club's there and they're kind of the baby faces, like going up against these heel teams. So, but yeah, Jay White. Would you like to see him long term in AEW or like we're going to touch upon the roster here in a little bit overall? Did I say that right? I said it right?
You were like you kind of split the difference.
I walked the thin line there. But yeah, Marcus, Jay White in AEW, long term thing, short term thing. What do you think?
I don't know. I suspect that he is almost doing like a Brian Pillman thing right now, where he's just like, hey, I'll just kind of bounce around until somebody gives me the most money humanly possible.
Yeah.
Which by the way, I understand and respect. But really, Dom, I know you said you wanted to talk about roster later, and we will, as we always do. But like, realistically, I'm like, do I want him to stick around? Maybe. Like, it really depends on what Tony Khan's got planned here, because like I saw he just signed another female talent as well. I mean, we got
AQA.
Right, we've got Keith Lee. So it's like, how are they fitting all these people into their fucking locker rooms at this point? I mean, it is jam packed in AEW, just like it's jam packed in WWE. But here's the thing: AEW's got 2 programs, WWE's got 3.
Yeah.
So even so,
WWE's got what? How many more hours than AEW? So.
Right, and go ahead and say no. They've got Dark or Elevation or whatever other shit they're doing. It doesn't matter. Nobody's watching it.
You got to count just what's on TV. I think so. Rampage. You got Dynamite.
As far as look, you're bringing in all this big money talent, and you're spending all this money, and so okay, we've got to feature all these talent on TV. You're bumping into an issue now where it's just like, okay, so every quarter hour now of Dynamite, I need to have one of these big stars in it. There's only so many quarter hours of Dynamite, and then they're like, okay, well, every quarter hour now of Rampage, you're still way over. So I don't know how he's going to do it. I really don't.
No. I want to pull up that article.
He's put himself into like the 2002 Raw SmackDown draft sort of a position.
Exactly. Hold on. Excuse me.
Just unprofessional. There's a mute button, Dominic.
Oh, I should have done that. Shit. Yeah. Sorry, guys. Yeah. I mean, Mark. I was really gonna I was gonna bring that up. It is like to the level where you almost need to have a brand split of talent, but you don't have enough airtime to do that necessarily even. So it's like, because you look, okay, who got signed? You got Danhausen, you got Keith Lee, you got AQA. Like those are just 3 names in the past like 2 weeks that got signed.
So look, it's a 2-hour program. So in theory, that's 8 quarter hours where you've got to feature at least one of your big money talent in each of that time. CM Punk, Sting, MJF, Adam Page, of course.
Yes.
Cody.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got Hangman Page. You just brought in Keith Lee, paid him. Danhausen. You got Brian Danielson. I haven't said him yet.
Moxley.
So you're up to 10 right there.
And Kenny comes back.
If we got Young Bucks.
Orange Cassidy, did you say him? He's up there.
Cassidy, Chris Jericho.
Keep going.
I could, but like, dude, it's fucked up. I don't know what the Britt Baker. You got Thunder Rosa, who needs more TV time, way more TV time. So yeah, he's worked himself into a corner a little bit.
Yeah, it's interesting. Let's talk about just Keith Lee showing up, because like,
let me tell you, when he did that Beal on Isaiah Cassidy.
Oh yeah.
I think I've watched that online like at least 12 times. Because every time I watch it, I'm like, was there like, did he have like one of those fucking like they use in movies to make people fly, like one of those like lines?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
As I was watching, I was like, how is that? How is a human doing that to another human? Like, I don't remember seeing the Giant do that shit to people.
Are we at Universal Studios or something?
Right. So like, did they just fucking CGI wrestling? What was that?
Oh god, WWE does that with the fucking augmented reality.
Nesha, thanks for pointing that out. Thunder Rose, a friend of the show, didn't say it that time.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Eddie Kingston, friend of the show. How are you gonna? You got to feature him in there. But no, man, it's they've worked themselves into a corner. But Keith Lee, hang on. Dom picks for the Super Bowl tomorrow. Jason wants to know. Steven Chambers likes the Bengals.
Who? Yeah. I like the Bengals. I'm rooting for the Bengals.
I want the Bengals to win. They're not going to win. The Rams defense is too good. Between Jalen Ramsey just basically shutting down half the field in the secondary and that defensive line is.
Yeah, but doesn't he he was supposed to shut down somebody he was going up against? He didn't shut down.
Tomorrow he's matched up against a very talented but a rookie wide receiver. Very talented rookie wide receiver, but a rookie wide receiver. And I think he's going to eat him alive. He's going to shut down that half. Yep, he's going to shut down that half of the field, and then that defense is going to be applying pressure, and the Rams are going to win. Anyways,
who's your MVP? Super Bowl MVP.
Super Bowl MVP. Probably Cooper Kupp if he keeps playing like he's playing.
It's a good point, and you know what? He should have been in contention for MVP overall. Kind of shitty.
Quietly had the nobody noticed how great he was until week 12, and they're like, wait a minute, look at this fucking guy's stats.
Holy shit!
Everybody's just ignoring him, and then all of a sudden they're like, whoa, he's pretty good at the football.
You know what? That guy's not bad. Marcus, yeah. But back to the Keith Lee stuff. I thought it was. Who were you predicting to show up? Did you think it was going to be Keith Lee?
I like that you're saying this, and Nesha brought it up a little bit earlier that nobody would have guessed Keith Lee.
Steven did. Steven Chambers did.
Steven, well done, sir. But no, I mean, not gonna lie, I was a big mark about it, and I was like, I think Wyndham Rotunda is going to show up here. So that was my guess. But then I saw this photoshopped image online that looked very photoshopped of Keith Lee and his new wife there on vacation. Yeah, Mia Yim on vacation, and it looked photoshopped. I'm like, all right, so it's gonna be probably both of them, one of them.
Oh yeah, okay, because you called me before that, and I think you said something.
Right. So I was like, this is happening for a reason. That you don't just do a photoshopped thing of your honeymoon. It's weird. So I was like, okay, so it's gonna be one or both of them. But no, before I saw that, I was like, man, I think it's gonna be Wyndham.
Yeah. We'll touch upon that here at Marcus. I mean, this is quite the question everybody's asking. Any idea? WCW rewritten. Coming back ever. I
gotta say, I'm blown away that Rewritten got over like it did. But people really enjoyed it,
I loved it. Marcus, yeah. I'm still excited of the prospects of what's going to happen.
Man, so let me tell you, this shit was gonna get wild. You want me to tell you guys what happens?
Don't tell Marcus.
No, I'm not gonna tell. Look,
never say never. This is wrestling. Never say never.
It is a never say never situation, but very much much like Vince never said never to Lex Luger after he showed up on Nitro. It feels like Lex Luger showed up on Nitro with WCW Rewritten, where it's I want to do it, but I am too fucking busy. I was working literally 2 minutes before I got into this podcast on a Saturday evening, Dominic. So I'm working a ton now. Now look, I'm starting to get a grip on it, a better grip on it, where it's consuming less of my time. Where it's like any other job, where I get caught up and I work through it, and I start to understand shortcuts, and so I'm getting where it's not insane anymore. But for a while there, it was, if I'm awake and I'm not taking care of my child, I was working for weeks. So that's the honest truth on why I haven't been jumping on here. But I am getting a better grip on it, so you never know. I full disclosure,
you don't know where life's going to lead.
I loved writing it. I would love to get back into it.
And it was a lot of fun, dude. It was great. So.
Now look. Before we move on with this podcast, let me say one more thing about Rewritten. Kevin Davis, what's up, man?
Hey, Kevin.
But I'll say this last thing. If I do bring it back, I think the only plausible way for me to handle the workload would be if we made it a once a month podcast as opposed to once a
It's
week.
not bad either, and it could be more of a honed in kind of focused, maybe even a little like longer version, but just 1 month. You know what I
Right.
mean?
I think our recordings were averaging something like 30 minutes or so
30,
before.
40 minutes. About
So
that.
maybe, it might be like an hour because I would have a month to write the whole thing, but we'll see how it goes. Kevin Davis in and out like a fast food restaurant, baby.
Heck yeah, that's the way to handle it, man.
You gotta respect it. He's like Grandpa Simpson comes in,
I
hangs up the hat, just spins right around, right out the door.
like it. I like
Hey,
it.
he does it running though, and I gotta appreciate it.
We
Always
appreciate
there.
it. Absolutely.
Tells us we're doing a great job.
Yep.
Like it doesn't. We might be doing a terrible job. He has no fucking idea right now.
Hey, you don't know.
Bounced. But
I think we're doing a terrible job.
Appreciate
Marcus. So I was going to touch upon this, but several people have commented already on this here. Jason Michael Campbell says Keith Lee is already being criticized for his weight in AEW.
That's silly.
They say Keith Lee needs to lose some weight. Look, honestly, Marcus, when he showed up, I had no idea that he gained weight. Zero clue. Like he's always a big guy. So it's just like, all right, that's
he looked the same as he did on WWE, didn't he?
That's what I thought. And so, I look, and the other thing too, I noticed, and listen, when you're out for a couple months like that stuff, I noticed like just a little bit of like timing was off here and there, just a touch, against Isaiah Cassidy and stuff like that. Ultimately, though, Keith Lee is fucking athletic. Like the shit that he was doing, you don't see big men do that.
A guy that's that size and weight, and look, we love the fact that he's so strong. He can do these incredible things. It's like, look, part of that is what he weighs. It's like a dude who outweighs me by like 200 pounds or whatever. While he probably can't get around as well as I could, he could probably he'd pick me up over his head and throw me across the room.
Across the room.
Right. So, I think that his weight and just general size, mass it's kind of contributes to what we love about Keith Lee, and the fact that he can do the crazy athletic stuff that he can at that weight, that makes it even more incredible. It reminds me a little bit of like the giant Paul White when he was young, where it was like, this dude is like 7 feet tall, weighs like 500 pounds, and he can do like a drop kick, and he can kip himself up in the middle of the ring.
Yeah. You just need him to be ripping some cigs.
That was a wild scene. Dom, if they release a WCW figure where he's got like cigarettes,
pack a Newport with him,
and like you've got a head with like a cigarette in the mouth, I'd buy 30 of them.
Marcus, you'd have to.
Mm-hmm.
That would have to be your centerpiece on your WCW wall.
I'd buy 30 of them, Dom.
And I wouldn't blame you.
Warhawk making a great point. I love this guy. Loves WCW rewritten. Makes good points. Modern day Bam Bam Bigelow or Vader. Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Probably closer to Bam Bam, I would say, than Vader. But I can see traits of both in him.
Absolutely.
I could easily picture Keith Lee doing the Bam Bam fucking moonsault and probably executing it better than Bam Bam did.
Oh, yeah, you could probably see that for sure. Bam Bam was very athletic too. It's just
he was. He was
ahead
incredible.
Of his time. Same with Vader too. I mean, Vader's like that too.
I think we need to band together as fans and make sure that Keith Lee eventually comes out wearing Bam Bam Bigelow gear for one of his matches.
Oh, man, pretty tight. Listen, but to the point about like Lee and his look, as long as he's healthy, I don't care what he looks like. If he gains weight or whatever, he's a big dude. I would expect him to gain weight. Sure, you want to work out and be in shape, but if he's in shape, that's not a problem. Like, you don't necessarily there's plenty of huge guys that are carrying a lot of weight that are in great shape, and that can do it. Even Yokozuna, was a big dude, but he was in shape for a while until he just ate himself out of oblivion. But it's the guy's been out for a couple months. He did deal with health issues too. So it's just a lot of different things, and he still looked good. He still wrestled good. It's people are quick to judge, but let's just see how the cards lay out here. If if it becomes an issue, it becomes an issue. If it doesn't like it's Keith Lee, and he's been Limitless, and he's been a big star like that has been plenty of potential that we haven't seen the full potential. Mainstream wrestling audience has not seen the full potential of Keith Lee. So like all they've seen is NXT, which he was hot act there. But I mean, again, look at Bearcat WWE. It's just like nothing. So
put him in the ring against the heel Daniel Bryan. So I'm buying tickets.
Man.
Dominic, Jason Michael Campbell lost 198 pounds.
What? Damn, dude, that's awesome.
Good for you, man. That is
great.
Fucking incredible.
I thought you said, wow. I thought you said you were 190 pounds.
I'm reading. I'm down 198 pounds.
Yes.
But
what 198 now?
Or are you saying down to 198?
Either way, it's good stuff.
Either way, you're killing.
Because like, look at that. It's just like I am at a weight I haven't seen in 30 years. That's great, man. Awesome.
That's remarkable. Congratulations.
Hot damn.
Dom Steven Chambers up next, just spitting fire. Keith Lee and Powerhouse Hobbs, come on.
Mm-hmm. Don't sing it. Bring it.
Powerhouse Hobbs is, I mean, it's, I think I've said it before, still a little green, rough around the edges, but man, just bursting with potential.
Oh man, but charisma too. It's crazy.
Yep.
No, Marcus, and like I mentioned this last week too, is like Ricky Starks fighting Jay Lethal on Rampage.
You gotta give Ricky Starks quarter hour.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, right.
Go ahead.
Hook. You need Hook.
Jay Lethal, you just brought that motherfucker in. He's so talented. Where's his TV time? We gotta.
No, it is an issue. Like Marcus, it's like, that's what I was trying to segue into this. So let me see here. An interview with Scott Fishman of TV Insider, also of the Miami Herald. Scott I've met a couple times. He's a great dude. I did a NWA show with him once. Khan, the CEO of the company, shared his mindset around the contract negotiations with current members of the roster. He noted that throughout the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, he wanted to keep people under contract, even if they wasn't using them, so they could still make money as wrestlers. But now that the roster has grown so much, Khan admitted that he can't keep everyone. He named ability and fan response as important factors in his decision-making. And he emphasized his goal to make sure AEW has the best roster possible.
All right, there's a problem in that.
Well, let me finish. The quote's not, I didn't even get to the quote.
Oh.
So he says, when we started, a lot of people had contracts that were a couple years long, and a lot of them are coming up, said Khan. I really have tried hard to be very considerate of the people on the roster, especially going through the pandemic. That encompassed a long period of time where we were still in our first year of television and going into our second. I kept a lot of people under contract, even though I wasn't necessarily using them on television because I wanted to still have paying work, which is hard to come by for wrestling during a pandemic where we don't have any independent shows. Really only two places were running, and the other place was cutting people left and right. Very true. I did want to give some job security to people. Now, with so many wrestlers coming in, I can't renew all the contracts. I've had to make some tough choices based on ability, fan response, or both. I try to maintain the best roster I can for the company and fans. So there's the quote. So, okay, give your thoughts, Mark.
There's an inherent problem in it, and that problem is that, okay, so in theory, it's a good idea, right? Where you're whittling down your roster to just like, okay, who are the biggest names, best talent, et cetera, et cetera. But then you're working yourself into a position where you've got nothing but dream matches on every single card, which in theory sounds good, right? But it's sort of the same idea of if everything is always good all the time and nothing bad happens, you stop appreciating all the good stuff. If I walked into your house every day, Dominic, every day before you started work, I came over and knocked on your door and handed you $100 every day, it would be great, and it would continue to be great. But then if I stopped doing that on one day, even though you're getting a free $100 on that day that I stop, you'd be like, what the fuck, man? So, and understandably, you've gotten used to this. So I think that he being Tony Khan, it works himself into a corner where like somebody's got to do the job. Somebody's got to do the job regularly, and you've got to bring jobbers in to build toward pay-per-views. At least that's the way the business has always gone. So you need to bring in guys who are strictly enhancement talents. And so, okay, let's say that we do that then. You're still facing the same problem. So you can bring in an indie enhancement talent then for every quarter hour to do the job for one of your stars. You still don't have enough quarter hours. So now you're facing having to put these stars against one another during these quarter hours, and somebody's got to go over, somebody's got to lose, and then it's like, okay, well, who does he face next week? Another mega star, and who goes over? So I think that you work yourself into a corner when you do something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point, but it's also like, yeah, your roster's bloated, so therefore, to if you do let contracts run out, I mean, you're going to have less people, but you got to quit signing people too is the other issue, and or you have to make a decision on how you're going to handle these people, like when you have because you have a loaded roster of stars, but Mark, I mean, if you handle the jobbers, quote unquote, or people that you bring in
Carpenters, enhancement talent.
to bring it in you just bring them in temporarily. You have them under a different kind of stipulation where they're there. Sure, you're maybe taking up certain times, but also you can kind of find the balance with less people on the roster. Ultimately, if that's the route you can take and you make the decision to make, like the tough decisions that have to be made, then you can come up with a rhythm of, okay, absence makes the heart grow fonder for this. This wrestler's not here every week, but we'll showcase him or her in a certain way. Then next week you see them right, in a match or something like that. If you kind of keep, volleyballing back and forth, to use that analogy again, I think it can work, but you have to train also the fan to not, to your point, not get that $100 every day.
Right.
So it's tough to walk the line of that, especially when there's name talent out there that fans do want to see, but then a lot of you run into the issue of how are you going to showcase this person, that person, everything like that. But I mean, it's a step in the right direction, though, is it not? Like, I mean, it's a tough step to
It is.
let
And
contract expire, not re-sign people. But like from a presentation perspective and everything like that, and it doesn't mean like anybody that you let go or let their contract or not, you can't bring them in. It's not, you can't not bring them in again for a short time. Like just show up and do a work program with somebody. But it's just like, yeah, you got to make those tough decisions. It's tough, but I mean, heck, that's at least we know that like Tony Khan's thinking about that stuff, and it's part of the thing.
And on the flip side of the coin that I brought up, it's not like it used to be in the 80s where like, you only see it used to be you've got top heels and top baby faces and they never touch on TV, only very, very rarely.
Mm-hmm.
Like they'll do interview segments. You might see them in a tag match against each other, but they never have a match on TV. It's always on
Like an
pay-per-view.
MJF, right? Until the point.
That's how it used to be in wrestling. But now it's changed. And honestly, it's changed because of WCW. WCW wound up acquiring all this talent, and then all of a sudden it was like every Nitro was an event. Because Eric Bischoff was smart. He was like, okay, how do I get fans away from WWE? Let's be different, and let's give them incredible matches to watch. Let's raise the stakes, and they did, and then WWE did it in turn. So now this formula of like, from the 80s where like if Ric Flair is wrestling anybody on TV, it's just like some job guy that they brought in, and then he does an interview about how he's going to beat Dusty Rhodes at the next pay-per-view, and then you do it again next week, and then you get to the pay-per-view and they finally wrestle there. But you can't do it anymore because now if you're just wrestling against enhancement talent on TV, everybody's going to be like, yeah, so what's going on in WWE? Oh shit, they got two superstars facing each other. I'll watch that.
Yeah,
so,
but WWE in turn needs to actually respond with a better product.
Well, yeah, I mean it's trash over there. But it's weird, man. This is a very weird time in wrestling. It's like a transitionary time. I think wrestling would really truly benefit from another national promotion. And weirdly,
could you do that?
Yeah.
Do you think the market is there for it? Is what I'm saying. Another big wrestling promotion.
Here's the thing: is like wrestling is not as hot as it was. You look at the viewing audience for even SmackDown right now. SmackDown is doing about what WCW was doing before WCW got hot.
Yeah.
So early '96. So like the numbers are not good right now. in wrestling all around. But I think that if you have a national brand, if you build a national brand and you come up with like a pay scale that works for you, it really depends on the promoter. But I think that you could have a lot of success because there's a
Sure.
lot of really
I agree with
talented
that.
free agents out there.
I agree with that. I think there is an audience. I don't know how much that audience will yield, like that type of numbers for all those programs. You know what I mean?
Right.
But yeah, I
Steve,
mean, you got to look into this too. Like, I think it's been stated before. Like, I think Tony Khan stated that AEW is in the television business, and they very much are. Like, so it's like their market or their business has like WCW should have been more focused with the pay-per-view business of things, and they got away from that. But like very much like, yeah, the AEW has their pay-per-views, but what, there's like 6 a year or something like that, so it's like not as much. They happen rare, so you are more concerned with how your TV, who you're portraying and who you're positioning on television. And so like it just goes to the point of like you really do have to find that balance of like attracting an audience, but not overshadowing the talent that you have on the screen too. So it's something that's to your point again, Marcus, transition period. I think overall in general the landscape of wrestling, but even in the microclimate of AEW, like is a transition period of like, okay, this is the first time where contracts are actually expiring in the company, and things are shifting and changing, and you're trying to find some stars. You're seeing, to Tony Khan's point, you're hearing the reaction, and you're getting a gauge for that, from popularity and everything like that. So,
but
yep.
it raises like you've got a guy like Trent Beretta, or just Trent or whatever he calls himself now, very talented
Trent
wrestler.
He's going by Trent Beretta.
Okay, so he's back, very talented wrestler, cool look. I would be shocked if he ever wins another match on TV. Because when those quarter hours at TV time, very, very valuable, and it's like you'll put him in there because he's a great worker, he's got a great look, but like who are you going to put him in there against? You got to put him in there against one of your big money stars, and he's not going to go over. So it's a weird time, man. Weird time.
Very weird time. Very weird time. But to your point, hey, let's putting people over and getting over. It's a big deal. Like, yeah, it's great. I think like that really says a lot if you get a win, on television, specifically on Rampage. I'm not talking YouTube. I'm talking Rampage. I'm talking Dynamite. So like it's kind of a big deal. Like that means something. Definitely means something.
So with how valuable that time is, you can, if people are getting wins on national TV now, you can really look at that guy and be like, well, Tony Khan loves that guy.
Yeah, something that felt like a big deal, Marcus. CM Punk teaming up with Jon Moxley against FTR.
How about that?
I thought that was super cool. Like just an unlikely alliance. A lot of people were thinking, I was thinking too, like my mind was racing because at that juncture we were seeing Jay White show up. We are seeing Keith Lee make his debut. It's like, what if fucking Samoa Joe comes out and tags with CM Punk against?
Well, that would have been something.
That would have been real something. But Jon Moxley, like you cannot. Him and Bryan Danielson, man, and they're like in a angle together. My two favorite guys right now. I think it's just both doing a really good job here, and it was awesome to see Punk and Moxley tag up, and even given their history, like with the Shield and Punk going up against the Shield and stuff like that. WWE, kind of neat to see that kind of come to a force against a great tag team. Personal favorites here of FTR. So, give me your thoughts on the presentation, execution of all that.
Yeah, I mean, talented guys. I think that Jon Moxley is a very talented, skilled, technical wrestler. I don't like that he always fell back on the whole, like, all right, let's get outside the ring and brawl. Because, like, I would see him having a great technical match and he kind of get away from it. And obviously it's part of his character and we're just always going to see it. But, man, let me tell you, him, CM Punk against technical masters of pro wrestling in FTR, just like it was a sight to behold.
It was really cool, and like, yeah, it just felt like a classic match, and it was awesome. The spot where FTR was going for the finish or something, and they got it reversed somehow. Like, I think it was Punk knocked Cash off the turnbuckle, then Mox and him got a hold of Dax, and they gave him a doomsday device. Was that what happened?
Yes, it's running together a little bit,
But
but that sounds.
when they hit the doomsday device, that was pretty fucking cool.
I love the callback to vintage tag team moves. And dude, this is how you get tag teams over. Except again, I think that should have been a pay-per-view match to me.
I mean, it's a great point. It really is, because like you did have the tease of like, okay, because it is building like that specifically is building towards Punk and MJF. Like
Right.
that's the direction it's going in. Where by accounts, you could cultivate a feud between FTR and CM Punk, and like
Sure.
CM
And
Punk
even
has
have like maybe in this series of matches between these two teams, what if MJF is interfering sometimes to make Punk take the L?
yeah.
So Tony Khan just gave us another $100 there on Dynamite with this match, and so then like if FTR takes on the best friends or whatever, it feels like a letdown. So it's an issue. It's an issue.
Yeah, no, it's a very fair point, Mark. Stephen Chambers says, "Whatever happened, the old school will have to defend the title every 30 days." WWE really veered away from that. Was that an AEW rule too? I think there's so much that wrestling today could really pick from the older days of things. Like, even simple shit like, hey, top rope regulations, can't go over the top rope. You would get DQ'd if you got thrown over the top rope or some shit like that, any like little things like that. I'll do a good plug here for Terminus. I've started watching the pay-per-view here, their first one, and like you can tell they're gonna go by a lot of like those kind of rules and regulations of the match, where like certain counts you can't do certain things and things like that, where it's like a little more rule-based things going on. Yeah, I think that's the and something like a title defense every 30 days, I think is a good thing too. Yeah, you want a fighting champion basically, and it keeps not only obviously from a kayfabe standpoint the wrestler on the ball of things, but it keeps the checks to the balances of the promotion doing the title justice as well. So yeah,
I like the old, and I think they should do this with the TV, or rather with the TNT title. Is like, Dom, did you know back in the day, the TV title for the NWA, it was the only belt that ever had this rule, was that the TV champion didn't have to beat you. You had to beat him in under 20 minutes. So if the match elapses
see, that's cool.
after 20 minutes, I think the match carries on in some cases. But if you pin him, you don't win the belt.
Yeah.
So like you have to be, so that when Arn was champion, he would always say that he'd be like, "Hey, I don't have to beat you. You've got to beat me, and you got to do it in under 20 minutes. And there's not a man alive that can do it." So it was a cool, fun stipulation, and it was a fun way to get out of it. So like Arn could take a loss then, in theory, after 20 minutes, but keep the belt.
Keep the belt.
And
Yeah,
he gets to still be champion even though he lost. So
and 20 minutes makes perfect sense because it's fucking TV.
It perfect sense. So honestly, I would love if they brought that back, but no, it's back to Steven's point. I think it was Steven who said that.
Yes.
Back to Steven's point. As soon as the belt started getting looked at as a prop, which I think largely it began happening in WWE. As soon as the belt started getting looked at as a prop and not a prize, I think that they started to get away from what made fans care. Like, look, there's got to be stakes. And if the Intercontinental title is getting traded back and forth between people every 2 weeks on TV, all of a sudden you're like, who gives a fuck about the Intercontinental title? There's no stakes.
No stakes. There's no value in the title, unfortunately, too. That's
right.
a sad thing because, no joke, the Intercontinental title was my title. That was my favorite title. Was that
24/7 title is a great example, Dominic. Who gives a shit who the 24/7 champ is?
Dude, and it's sad to say. I'm gonna say it now, though. Who gives a shit who the Intercontinental champion is right now? I mean, I know it's Sami Zayn.
I was just gonna say I couldn't tell you who it is.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's just.
I thought it was still like what's his name, Apollo.
No, that was a long time ago.
So yeah,
it was Shinsuke who just had it, but he never defended it. So, and that's the other thing. He never defended it. Like, it's been forever, like, since he had a title of defense, I think, for a while. And then finally they put it on. It's just like you have to respect your audience and everything like that by putting these titles out in the forefront and making them mean something. So, and I think they're doing a good job with the TNT title and this great, awesome segue, the TBS title, as Jade Cargill defends it against new acquisition AQA, who delivered one hell of a shooting star press. Marcus, did you see that?
I missed it.
You missed it. Oh man, I implore you to go and catch it on Twitter, one of your social media platforms of choice that you work for with ad-free shows. Yeah, take a look there because it was a great moonsault. But all right. So my girlfriend, she knows zero about wrestling. Knew zero about wrestling before meeting me, everything like that. So she's had to been stuck watching wrestling as I've covered it for WrestleZone.com here and there. She's very familiar with Impact. She's somewhat familiar with NXT, and she's a little familiar with AEW. Knows nothing about WWE. I was like, we're not watching that.
You put the kibosh on it.
For her benefit only.
That is great.
Okay, so she was watching with me on Wednesday night, and who stood out to her but Jade Cargill. She was like, Jade Cargill right now is the top wrestler I only care about right now. And she said because she looks real. Like she looks great and she looks like she's fighting. She's like some of the guys on AEW that she was watching and seeing, it doesn't look like they're fighting. But for her to watch Jade and say that, like, she didn't look like she was fighting. So stands out to how, like, and me as just, somebody that watches wrestling since I was a kid, I like Jade Cargill. I think she's awesome. And so for a non-wrestling fan to say that too, I think it really says something to the star value and power and potential of Jade Cargill. Marcus, we know you're a fan too, but let's get your thoughts.
She's a baby face, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Jade is baby face. And I remember coming on here, I think it might have been the last time I was on here, where I said, I think it's time for Jade to be a baby face. You really rebuked me on that, but like she's a baby face, and for that reason, your girlfriend, who's a novice pro wrestling fan, sees her and likes her, and it's hard not to like her. Like she looks like $1,000,000. Is she great in the ring? No, but she looks real, and she does a serviceable job, and I think she gets better all the time. So like she's a baby face and should be a baby face right now. She's young Lex Luger. That honestly, and with better skills, more athletic. So yeah, she belongs, and I love her as a babyface. And honestly, Dominic, the person who needs to beat her for that title when the time comes is Serena Deeb. Heel Serena Deeb against babyface Jade Cargill, and have it just be like you can even make it like, hey, like the old Bret Hart versus Diesel thing. Like, hey, if it, as long as it's a brawl, Jade Cargill has the advantage. But like if Jade Cargill's on the ground, Serena Deeb has the advantage, and just have Serena Deeb just catch her. I would even say a clean win.
I wouldn't do a clean one. I would do an underhanded one, but
probably underhanded. But yeah, it's on it. And guess what else? Serena Deeb is going to bring the best out of every single person that she gets in the ring with, including Jade Cargill. So to me, it makes sense to build toward those two and have it go that way. But no, man, she's money. She's got huge potential. She's got like movies, television, modeling, all the potential, and AEW is very, very lucky to have her. When her contract comes up, I got a feeling it's going to be a very expensive one.
That's a great point too, Marcus. That's a great point. Nesha does not like Jade, he says.
I think a lot of girls and guys watching don't like Jade. It just because it's like we've become used to like a certain type of wrestler, and she's one of one, right? I've never seen a human like her. Have you?
No, it's unbelievable. When I first saw her, I was like, wow. And like even still when I see her, I'm like, wow, because it's like you do not see people like that. Right. And I did tell my girlfriend, like I was like, okay, look at this girl, like it's like she could kick anybody's ass. I was like, she could throw us around like right now.
Right.
So,
So I think we've all become accustomed to like, a certain look, certain style, and she's just like she's so different from everybody. I think a lot of people see it and are just like, "Ugh." I think me when I was younger, I'd probably feel the same way. But now that I'm looking at things a little bit more objectively, I'm like, like she's got it. She's movie star potential, action figures, toys, television, name it. She's got it.
mhm.
So yeah, well, honestly, like I could see her in 5 years leaving the wrestling business and becoming a full-time actress,
It could, I mean, her
like
tagging with Shaq,
action star.
her tagging with
Uh,
Shaq. Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah.
I could see her fighting fucking Alien.
Right. Uh, Steven says, not digging Deep's rookie 5-minute time limit matches. Put that on Dark. I'm okay with that. Her being on these 5-minute matches because yes, it's to what kind of what we were saying, where it's like, okay, you want to give your a talent a quarter hour or part of a quarter hour. This is a good way to kind of do that. It's like, okay, if you want to establish Deeb as one of your top women's, you want her on that television product. So to put her on there in that kind of type of match where she just like beats somebody very quickly, I don't think that's a problem. I mean, we're both biased because we like Serena Deeb, but
I think they're probably building Deeb to be a champion, whether TBS title or just women's title or whatever. I
mhm.
think they're building her to be a champion, and this is kind of a good way to do it, in my opinion. I understand his sentiment, but I would counter it by saying, let's keep in mind that you want to build somebody to be like this credible, unstoppable force. And like the narrative now with Serena Deeb is like, hey, look, she's not this giant, huge, strong lady, but she'll just outwork you and make you tap.
I love the tequila sunrise. They're using that. It's writing it
Oh my
out.
god, it's awesome. It's awesome. And like she comes off as a shooter, and she comes off
Yeah.
as somebody who just like she just knows more about wrestling than you. She's a professor of professional wrestling. She just knows more about wrestling than you do, and she'll make you tap out.
Yeah. Next
Which I
shit.
think, which raises the stakes when she comes up against Jade. Hopefully, soon, it's going to be like, okay, who's going to win out? Is it brawn or is it technical ability?
Right. And it could be kind of cool because I think it's Steven said this, that he was like, get rid of Sterling. You could have Sterling transition over to Serena if you want. It's a heel team him there,
I've said it before. I'll say it again. She belongs with guys like Tully Blanchard and FTR.
That's
She
a good
should be.
point, though.
That should be.
Point.
That should be her group.
Yeah. Steven says Jade reminds him of Beth Phoenix. I agree with that. I can definitely see that.
She doesn't remind me of anybody, Dominic. I've never seen a human like her.
That's a good point, though, too. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's a good point. Yeah, AQA trained by Booker T. Pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Mark, definitely check out that Shooting Star Press. Nesha, the only reason I said Sammy was the champ because I think I read something where he won it. I don't want to spoil something, but he might have won the title at a taping or something like that, I think.
Warhawk, close to Serena Deeb. I actually grew up. I didn't grow up there. I lived for a couple years in Culpeper, Virginia, so not too far from there.
They referenced Culpeper, Virginia in The Sopranos.
Oh, did they?
Uh-huh.
When I met David Crockett, I was telling him I used to live below the Mason-Dixon line, and he was like, "Where?" I was like, "Yeah, you might know it." I was like, "Culpeper, Virginia." He was like, "We used to run shows there."
Like, that's right. Way. I remember him saying that to you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. David Crockett wanted me to partake in libations at Top that weekend.
But you were on the clock.
I kind of did take a little part.
So did
I. All right. We'll close some of this out here. We got to talk about this though, Marcus. You talked about this maybe since the dawn of Two Dynamite Dudes. Inner Circle looking like it's on some rocky ground here. Next week it's going to be Jericho and Jake Hager versus Santana and Ortiz. Marcus, is this just a rift in the faction, temporary rift, or is this signs of the end is near for Inner Circle?
Steven Chambers is fucking on it. Right as you were saying that, look, he's like bringing it up. Let me say this much. I love the fact that there's that great image out there of Santana snatching Jericho by the throat. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, that's a great image. That's a great image. And to me, that image in and of itself indicates the end of the Inner Circle. They're done.
Ooh. Now, so Now, Steven says Hager turning heel. So if that was to be the indicator, he turns on Jericho. Where does that? Do you see that happening? What do you see exactly going on here, Marcus?
I think Jericho's getting ready to take some time off, and these guys are gonna leave him behind. I think that the whole group is turning on him, maybe going their separate ways. But yeah, I think I'm just guessing. I have no idea, but I would guess that Jericho's getting ready to take a little time off. These guys are going to leave him laying, and he'll go away for a while and come back as a strong solo babyface.
Okay, no, I can get behind that. Hey, to what I've said in the past, make him like the Lionheart again. You know,
I would say bring him back for there it is. Stephen Chambers saying Jericho's starting his Fozzy tour soon.
Oh.
So yeah, that's my guess as to what's going on. But yeah, I wouldn't hate it, and I would say make it his last go, when he comes back, he says hey, look, it's I'm getting up there in years, and I want to close it out on a high note and make him say I'm on the Chris Jericho's goodbye tour, and I want to go out on top. I'm going for the
Chris
belt.
Jericho loves Kiss. But I don't think he should go the Kiss route where they say, hey, a final tour coming. It's not the final tour. They keep on going. Listen, look, Marcus, this is wrestling. So I think to say that stuff, they might mean it. It could at some point. I don't think you should say it. I think, and I was even listening to Jericho on commentary at Rampage. And I'm like, dude, and maybe just think, we're going to miss Jericho when he's not wrestling anymore. It's gonna at some point.
It's not that far away, and you're right. We got to enjoy it while we've still got Jericho wrestling,
right? And you know what? But you look at guys today, whether it's in wrestling or sports, guys are playing in their older ages now, and it's just you have that potential to do a spot here and there as a pro wrestler. You don't have if you're a Jericho, you can pick and choose your moments to come back and do stuff. I mean, fucking Shane McMahon, I'm not a fan of Shane McMahon, but he comes out and does a spot and gig here, gets over, and then he's gone for a few months or doesn't wrestle for a month and a half. He can recover. But it's just and he's not that good of a wrestler. But you look at somebody like a Jericho that knows what he's doing and that can adapt in certain matches and make things work and knows the routes to take with that, whether he's wrestling a veteran or a new guy or whatever. And there's legs to you don't need to have a retirement tour. You don't need to have anything like that.
Well, can we agree that when he does retire, it needs to be in the final match with Kenny Omega, the best of 3?
That'd be pretty darn cool.
Yeah, that's how it's got to go.
Okay, I can get behind that at least. Yeah, Warhawk, he does make it I think he makes a great commentator. People touch upon oh, he's loud, he yells and says stuff. That's great. You don't get, he's like a classic color commentator that you want on there.
That's he's
and he knows
loud.
The business.
He's loud. He yells stuff. That sounds like Jerry Lawler.
Bobby Heenan? Didn't he kind of yell a little bit here, make jokes?
Sure. Jesse Ventura.
Yeah, I mean that's just kind of the thing, and I think there's plenty of room in that for wrestling. So no, I think there's plenty of legs with Jericho, whether it's still in the ring or on the commentary booth. So, okay. That death match, Marcus, what'd you think of that?
Remind me, who was in the death match?
The main event, Archer and Hangman.
Oh my gosh, yeah, of course. It was good. Eric Bischoff made a point on his podcast this past week, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on it, Dominic. Mm-hmm. Overdone with blood. And now he wasn't referencing this match specifically. He was talking about some match that happened in 2012, but he was just saying, yeah. But it kind of relates to today in that he was just saying it's overdone ad nauseum. The blood in pro wrestling is just we've seen it so much, it kind of doesn't mean anything anymore, right? Where back in the day, it used to be very shocking, really gruesome. The fans would all start standing up and say holy shit, this match has got to be over soon. That dude is bleeding. But now it's just I'm fucking eating ice cream on my couch and looking at my phone, oh, he's bleeding.
Damn.
Yeah,
and it's a great visual. Hangman, the way he Hangman's good looking dude, and then just blood's covering his face and stuff like that. It's a good visual, but yeah, Mark, it's It happens a lot. And, and it happens in a manner, in AEW, it happens in the manner of, when you saw Nick Gage and Jericho, I was still like, hey, that was fun for what it was. Let's not see that for a while, though. Like, you know what I mean? And so, because when that shit does happen, it means a lot. It means a lot. And I think, you had Moxley fighting Lance Archer in this Texas death match before. Then you've had Hangman doing it. It's neat seeing a person like Hangman being in an environment like that and like ultimately coming out on top, like winning something he's not like. This is Lance Archer's playground, and for him to come into Lance's playground and like beat him in such a very cool way. I thought the setup and the execution of the match was great. The story told in the match was awesome, and some of those spots that they did were fucking cool. Like Lance giving him the blackout on the side of the steps. Like, and then the finish or the whole story of them taking off the second, like Hangman hitting the buckshot early in the match and like almost getting the win there. But then Dan Lambert and Jake untying the top rope and removing that out of the equation told such an interesting element. How's Hangman going to win without a buckshot? And then he uses the ref and the barbed wire wrapped around his forearm to hit the buckshot to Lance Archer through the tables to get the win. I thought was a cool, badass finish and a great way to position Hangman. To your point and to Bischoff's point, yeah, a lot of blood, little overdone in that manner, like in today's day and age, where it's like if you're gonna do those stuff, make them happen a lot rarer than even what we've been seeing as of recent on AEW and stuff like that, because they mean more when that happens. But I will say I really enjoyed the match. And I love Adam Page and I love Lance Archer, and now it looks like they're transitioning Adam Cole here coming up.
And here's the thing too, man, is like to your point, it's when you do something like that with Adam Page, you're like, okay, he can hang with anybody, right? That should be like the vibe that we take away from that. Like, hey, look, if it's a brawl, he can do it. If it's a technical wrestling match, he can do it. Like, and that's kind of what you want out of a champion. So yeah, I thought it was fine. I think that hearing Bischoff talk about that on this past week's 83 weeks and putting those pieces together this week, I was like, he makes a good point. Like the last time, the last time blood really meant anything to me was live 2019. When you and I saw Cody versus Dustin, and Dustin was just bleeding a gusher to the point where I was like, he might need to go to the hospital after this match. Mm-hmm. So that raised the stakes. I will say a little bit when it came to Jericho and in the death match with Nick Gage, because of Jericho's age, and you don't associate him with that sort of thing. So in that case, I remember I was like, I need to watch this match. I went out my way to see it, just because of those stakes. So really, those are the last time
I will also say
Britt Baker.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Lights out match with Britt Baker.
So here's the thing: is I don't know what the blood necessarily meant as much as far as raising stakes. I think it more meant more as a moment, as an iconic moment.
Yes. Okay, I agree with that.
So yeah, I don't think it necessarily raised the stakes of the match so much as it just provided one of those like highlight reel moments.
Yeah, in a certain way though, it kind of did raise the stakes because you don't see that in a lot of women's matches.
That's true. It does mean something in women's matches, mm-hmm. which I don't think is right. I think it should be fair across the board as far as how we perceive it. But no, you're right. As of right now, yes, that's true.
But yeah, no, I am with you on the fact that, hey, let's see a lot of blood less on occasion. Like, make it once a year, something like that.
Right. Steven Chambers' bunny got busted open on Rampage too.
Yes, so I know. I just thought about
that. They're going back to the well a little bit too often. I think it should be a rarity.
I think that's an ultimate thing that a lot of people can mostly agree on with that. I'm sure Steven TBS is probably okayed it. It's a good point though. I mean, they're on a new network and stuff like that. Maybe they want to handle things differently than even TNT does. But, I'm sure they're aware of what the AEW product has been and what they've presented in the past. So I'm sure that they knew that going into the whole game and scheme of things. So
Yeah, I mean, it's like, look, when it comes to these stations, it really comes down to advertisers and who's willing to advertise. So, like, I think advertisers are aware that, like, okay, like these specific demos are fine with this. Is this the demo that we're trying to capture? You know
yeah.
what I mean?
Mhm.
So, I really think that that's what it boils down
And
to in
heck,
the end.
this the ratings for this past week, highest I think said they were since October.
Yeah,
Number one in cable.
it's it was cheap though. It was cheap because
Oh,
of the whole, like, we're bringing somebody on. So, like, I'm not very impressed by that. I will be super impressed by that if those numbers maintain into this coming week.
coming week. Well, we have Brian Danielson versus Lee Moriarty on tap, and we also have Sammy Guevara defending his TNT championship against the very established TNT champion in Darby Allin. So, do you think this is a moment where they further cement Sammy as a defending champion to beat Darby Allin, or is there a possibility that we see Darby regain the title on Wednesday?
No way.
I agree.
No, Sammy. I think that they're running with Sammy right now, and who's Darby actually feuding with?
Um.
I don't remember.
Oh my gosh. Well, he came out. Oh, Andrade. It's going to be Andrade coming up.
Okay, so Andrade's going to come out with a distraction or something.
Good point. Great point. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, no. Sammy Guevara, I think they're rolling with him a little.
Hey, also, I gotta throw this in. What's going on with Matt Hardy? He's like, he's bailing on Private Party here. It's some like brother Jeff is gonna be. They're gonna be wrestling together for the first time March 12th. Big time wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, Jeff is coming in. I don't think there's any and if or but about it. And I think that their first opponents are going to be Private Party.
That's awesome, dude. I'm fucking pumped.
So I will say, bringing the Hardy brothers back together on AEW, it's pretty fun. Now, it's again, we're just, the bucket's full, and we're trying to squeeze a couple more fucking drops into it, but it's still fascinating.
Yeah. Oh man, I know. I mean, it's a transitional time in wrestling, and it's still a very fun time in wrestling.
And then the Bucks are coming around.
Mm-hmm.
This breathes new life into Matt Hardy, I think, in AEW.
Oh yeah,
bringing his brother in for sure.
Absolutely.
Okay, and he's still got a lot of life left to him, so
yeah.
It's exciting. It's
It
exciting.
is exciting. So hey, you can check out Matt Hardy on Podcast Heat, by the way.
Podcast Heat, Dom.
The Extreme Life.
Yes, sir.
Matt Hardy, and then also Wise of Wrestling. That's a great show on Podcast Heat.
Mm-hmm.
Randy Orton's wife Kim, Kurt Angle's wife Giovanna, and they're talking about just stuff, as being married women of pro wrestlers.
You're gonna hear stories on that one that you'll never hear anywhere else.
Yeah, exactly. One of a kind of stuff.
Yes.
So, Marcus, we're getting into the plug segment of the show. Hey, talk about some ad-free shows, will you?
Yeah, absolutely. I did want to mention, also on Podcast Heat, I mean, Flair Uncensored, you can't do much better than getting to talk to the Nature Boy. And Mark Madden he's his co-host. Mark Madden a couple times a week, he'll like put out on his Twitter, like, hey, who's got questions for Flair Uncensored? There's a good chance he'll read one of your questions eventually. So it's, if you got a question for Nate, by all means, drop it, follow Mark Madden and drop it in there. Flair Uncensored is awesome. Sadler Senator, it's another one with Podcast Heat. That one's awesome. Check out Podcast Heat in general. They got some great shows, but yeah, man, again, ad-free shows is, we were talking about Serena Deeb, the professor of professional wrestling. Guess who was just on adfreeshows.com talking to our Top Guy members? The professor of professional wrestling came in and had conversation, answered questions. I got to cut some film for it and watch a lot of it. And it's, I mean, you want to talk about insightful, intelligent, Serena Deeb. Serena Deeb is one of a kind when it comes to wrestling ability and wrestling knowledge. But yeah, again, I encourage everybody, check out adfreeshows.com. There's a free trial going on, 10-day free trial, adfreetrial.com. So go check it out. By all means, it's well worth it. And yeah, I mean, if you can afford it, Top Guy member, My Push member. There's so many perks, so many awesome things you get to do, tons of interaction with your favorite wrestlers. So yeah, by all means, check out adfreeshows.com. And that is it for the plug section, Dom. I got nothing.
Right. Nesha says she should find herself a wrestler, be a wrestler's wife.
Yes, what a life. What a
Man.
life.
Trying to think, who would you want to marry, Nesha? That's
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say John Cena, Dominic.
you think, oh yeah, that's a good point. You know what? That's a good point.
just taking a shot at it.
Just a hunch there.
Yeah. And Nesha's name on Twitter, I believe, is Miss Cena Lover.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm just I'm like,
maybe putting two and two together.
I'm like fucking Sherlock Holmes out here, just putting the pieces together.
Yeah, there you go.
Anywho, Dom, anything else to plug?
Yeah, I mean, just WrestleZone.com. Go there for your wrestling needs. As far as interviews are concerned, I have a recent one with Charlie Haas that just got published. Charlie Haas, Marcus knows, has one of my favorite wrestlers when I was in college and stuff like that. Like just being a casual fan in college, I always tune in, see how Charlie Haas was doing, what he was up to. He was my guy. And so it was really neat to speak to him for the first time and stuff. And he's such a smart dude, knows the business very well, gave some great perspective from an amateur wrestling standpoint of things. And wants to get back in the mix of things. And like still named a list of wrestlers that you can check out on WrestleZone.com that he wants to wrestle. Some interesting names, some really intriguing names that would be really cool to see. He has a cool story about the Briscoe brothers. Him and his late brother Russ were the ones that broke them into the business. And Marcus and I told Charlie this too when we were on the air. We saw the Haas brothers wrestle on Raw in a dark match. I don't know if you remember this, Marcus, but it was Charlie and Russ against, I believe, K Quick and the Road Dogg in a dark match.
I do not remember that, but that's
you don't
awesome.
remember that? It was in State College when we went to Raw in State College.
Yeah, that was also the event where there was a ladder match between Edge and Christian. They did the spear off the from the belt spot. And now they did it at WrestleMania more famously, but I think that we saw that happen before it actually happened at WrestleMania.
Oh, we did.
Yeah. So Dominic and I were there. In theory, the first televised time that spear from the to Jeff while he's hanging from the belts happened. Right. But Charlie Haas, man, it's a great technical wrestler, and he was under the tutelage of another great technical wrestler who wound up going on to some pretty decent fame, Kurt Angle. So, like, you want to talk about sitting under the learning tree. It's like not only can he relate to him as a technical shooter coming into pro wrestling, but then it's like, now here's how you polish your pro wrestling skills.
You know what? He like talked about like adapting the styles from like New Japan and all that stuff, and picking from like Arn and Tully and all that stuff, and incorporating that in your style and stuff like that. And that creates a good foundation that, like, unfortunately, a lot of talents, the way that WWE is recruiting them, are not going to learn that way. They're only going to learn this NXT WWE method that even right now seems a little like, hey, who's going to be like, you're going to have a smart talent training them, like guys like Steve Corino and Johnny Saint, I believe, still there. And I'm sure I'm missing a couple others, but you lost guys too, like William Regal and other coaches that are, the Road Dogg and things like that know, that have had history in the business and stuff like that. Not to say Corino hasn't at all whatsoever, or, anybody like that, because they have, but it's just like, there's a certain style that WWE wrestles, and that's the way they're going to teach it. So, like, nowadays, like, to get guys like a Charlie Haas back in the mix and wrestle, like, because during this time, Marcus, it was right when our boy Jeff Jarrett was in GCW, like, wrestling Effie. So it's like it's a good landscape to have these matches and these fantasy, like, weird out there that you never fathom matches going on between maybe a legacy star and a growing talent today. So, speaking of Jeff Jarrett, dude, did you hear he's going to be the ambassador for the upcoming NWA show for the Crockett Cup? How cool is that? I love that NWA is doing that. I love that they have so much respect for tradition, and, like, Jeff Jarrett was. I can't remember how many times he's been NWA champion, but, like, that is a prestigious belt. So much history. What an incredible lineage. So it's really cool. I would probably say it's my favorite looking title in all of wrestling. The rumor has it, and I think that Jeff may have said this on the podcast. One of the things that Hulk Hogan said back in 2003 when he was first looking at getting into TNA was that he wanted to hold the NWA title.
because it was held by people that he had so much respect for, and he was like, I want to be the champion. So it's like if you got a guy like Hulk Hogan who's like, he's made his money, he had done everything in wrestling by that point, but that was something he wanted to check off his list. I mean, it's a prestigious belt, and it's just I just think it's awesome that NWA has respect for legends like Double J.
100%. No, it's neat to see Jeff in that mix again. Nesha's flicking the lights on and off to us. She's heading out. Y'all have a great night. So I think, Marcus, it's time for us to close out the show.
Yeah. Nesha's like the bartender at the bar, and it's like 2:15 a.m.
He's playing Semisonic closing time.
Yeah, they're like, okay, everybody get the fuck out.
All right, time to hit the bricks. Marcus, hey, welcome back, man. It's nice to have you again.
Yeah, I'll see you guys in like a month. No, I mean, in truth, I'm trying to get on here as often as I can. I do love doing this. I love just chatting wrestling and talking to the community here. But hey, man, it is what it is. I'm a busy boy, Dom.
Hey, and I think it's confirmed. WCW Rewritten is coming back. Marcus confirmed it tonight.
It'll come back eventually.
Hey, there we go. There we go.
Probably. Maybe when I'm in my 60s. So once I retire from full-time work. Now it's I'm sure we could probably figure out some way to do it once a month, but it's not in the cards right now.
All right, we'll hash it out. The future is open, so there we go.
We'll figure it out, man.
Figure it out. Just like we appreciate you figuring us out by sticking with us for this past hour and a half almost. So, all right, guys,
this is a long one.
It's been a real doozy of one. I tell you what. All right, we'll see you next week here on Two who, Marcus?
Dynamite dudes on a rampage.
All right. See you guys.
See you guys.